I'm Jim Juno, and this is Lights, Camera, Author, where we talk about movies, television, and everything in between. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the Lights, Camera, Author YouTube channel and check out our new website at lightscameraauthor.com. Chris Korman has a new book entitled, Oh My God, It's Harvey Korman's Son. And as you may have guessed from the title, Chris is the son of the legendary funnyman who came into everybody's home on Saturday nights for 10 years on the Carol Burnett Show. He joins me now from his home in Las Vegas, Nevada. Chris Korman, welcome to Lights, Camera, Author.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me on your show. I think we have a mutual friend in Ben Olmert.
Yes, he is the owner, I believe, of Bear Manor Media, who publishes your book. And,
yes.
And you can check out more information on Chris's book at the Bear Manor Media website at bearmanormedia.com. BEAR, as in the animal bear. Yeah, Ben Olmert has really been helpful to me on this show, and I really owe him a lot. So thank you for mentioning him.
Well, if Ben listens to this eventually, I owe Ben a lot too. And let me tell you something. And I'm going to send you a few people your way. Wesley Hyatt, who did the Carol Burnett Show book, has a new book out about Betty White.
Oh,
I'm going to send him your way. And Steve Cox, who just did a book on the Flintstones, who is also a Bear Manor author. All three of us are under the Bear Manor label. So I'm going to send Wesley and Steve to you when their books. Well, Wesley's book is out, so I have to get with Wesley and get him to you, and I got to get Steve Cox and figure out where Steve is with his book. I think Ben told me it's coming out soon. So, and I know because most people don't know this, or maybe some people do, that my father was the voice of the Great Gazoo.
Yes, the Great Gazoo on the Flintstones. I love that character.
So Steve had written the book, not knowing how we're connected. And he wrote the book, and he said, oh, my God, I wish I had known you before I written the book. I would have had you talk about your father. But fortunately for me, Steve said a lot of very nice things about my father in his book before he talked to me. So that was nice to hear.
Oh, that's great.
It's funny. The pop culture landscape, either my father is known for Carol Burnett, Blazing Saddles, or the Great Gazoo.
Yes, indeed. But he had an entire career on the stage beforehand.
He did quite a bit of theater. He did a lot of summer stock in his early years in his career. The thing is he had the opportunity to do La Cage aux Folles, the national tour, and he was just about to have his third child, and he passed on it, and he recommended to the producers Peter Marshall from the Hollywood Squares. Yes. Because most people don't know this, that Peter Marshall grew up doing big band swing music. And, he did Bye Bye Birdie in London's West End. So my dad, here's the funny thing about this, is that the reason my father never really liked to do Broadway was the idea of him playing one character for a year gave him the heebie-jeebies. Mm. Because to my father, because he was classically trained at Goodman Theater and studied with Herbert Berghoff Studios, which also the late Hal Holbrook, who just passed away, studied with my father with HB Studios and Uta Hagen. And my dad was classically trained to play characters. So that's why sketch comedy was such a great venue for him. The idea of playing one character for a year just, oh my God, wigged my father out. Mm. And that's why he was, and also, when you do variety, there's an immediacy with the audience. You get the feedback of what works and what doesn't immediately.
I can imagine, yeah.
So
you know right away if a joke has worked or if a sketch has worked because you hear it and there's no going back. There's no substitute for it. Now,
not whatsoever. That's why. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I didn't know your dad was on the Danny Kaye show before the Carol Burnett show. That was actually
4 years.
Yeah, that was actually his training ground for, if we want to call it that, for the Carol Burnett show.
It was. Yeah, it was. he came out in '60 with my mother. Got situated. He did a lot of Skelton, Danny Kaye, a few Jack Benny's, Lucy Munsters, Perry Mason, Route 66. And '63, he had done some Jack Benny's, I guess. And I guess Perry Lafferty, the president of CBS, said, I think Harvey might be good for Danny's operation. And him and Joyce Van Patten, who most people know as Dick Van Patten's sister, and were considered semi-regulars in those 4 years. But my father cut his teeth on Danny Kaye. And Danny Kaye was going off the air, and Carol saw him in the parking lot and threw him over the head of an Edsel or a Mercedes or whatever. So somewhere there's an imprint on my dad's back that says "Made in China." I don't know. So she said, "You got to do my show." But let me tell you right now, CBS had no faith in that show, not whatsoever.
Really?
They had them as a mid-season replacement in 1967. The reason I know that so well is because I was born in '67, so I'm about 4.5 months older than the Burnett Show. So, yeah, Joe went back east to talk to the people at CBS, Michael Mann, and he looked on the board and said, mid-season replacement, Carol Burnett Show. Gave it no faith. All Carol would say to Vicki and my father, let's just have fun, let's love each other, let's respect each other, and that will come over on the screen. And I think that's what you got from that show, is you could tell they were having fun.
They did. It looked like they had loads of fun. And one of the things that your father is most famous for on the show, and is his bits with Tim Conway, who would, if anybody ever saw go to YouTube and look for Tim Conway and Harvey Korman on the Carol Burnett Show, because Tim Conway would break your father up just by looking at him almost on live TV.
Yeah, it was pretty live back then. Well, they did 2 shows a night. Here's the rule of thumb. They call it a dress, and they call it an air show. The first show was for the network. The second show was for Conway. So they involved Tim's ego on the second show. So if you saw the show on Saturday night, you would see 2 shows cut together.
I didn't know that. Yeah, so they did. I guess that carries on to this day with Saturday Night Live, where they have a dress rehearsal and then the air show that goes on.
Right.
So, but I remember in your book, your dad was telling Tim Conway he would deliver the jokes too fast. He wouldn't wait.
My dad and Tim toured for 10 years together between the age of 70 to 80, and my dad did like 700 performances between the age of 70 and 80. And one of the things that my dad finds incredibly annoying, in general, and just on general terms, is for a performer to start laughing or just to start talking while the laughter is still going on. Because if you're talking over the laughs, the audience isn't going to hear the setup. Comedy is about pacing and rhythm and timing. So if you start trying to talk over the laugh, the audience is going to come in the middle of the next setup, and they're not going to get the next laugh, the big laugh. So my dad would say to Tim, why are you talking on the big laugh? Let the laugh subside. It's like riding a wave. Let it subside, and then start talking. So my dad had this, what they call a 6-second rule. He said, wait till 6 seconds and then start talking again. He timed it down to the precision of 6.5 seconds. I timed it. Many times in my dad's house would go 6.5, 7 seconds. He said, how do you know that? I said, I would time all your laughs. I said, you don't have anything else better to do with your day?
Yeah.
He's like, how about homework? I said, I got my homework done. I said, you time my laughs. I said, yeah. I said, why? Because I want to see what it's like to hold for a laugh. In difference to you doing a one camera versus an audience. And he said, that's interesting you would say that to me, Chris, because I always found it frustrating. When you do one camera, there's a canned laughter you hear.
Right.
You have to assume that the joke you're doing on TV with one camera, you're having to assume how long the audience at home is going to take before they get the joke. So you have time in your head. So I wait 6.5 seconds before talking, because the canned laughter will kind of give the idea to the audience, oh, you should laugh here. So my dad said the worst part about one camera is that the canned laughter kind of leads the audience to think what's funny or what's not funny. And my dad found that disturbing, because if the line is really funny, it should get off on its own merits. You shouldn't have to prompt the audience.
That's true. That's exactly true. Yeah, and I want to talk more about your father in a second, but I want to talk a little bit about you too, because the book is really your life story, in addition, and your relationship with your father. And you know, it was really refreshing to hear a child of a celebrity not write, for want of a better term, a mommy dearest type of book. You know, I mean, too many times.
I love you for that. Thank you.
I mean, you and your father had a great it sounded like y'all had a great relationship. And
we did, and yeah, we could, because I could call him on his crap, and he could call me on his. And I could call me on. I could call him on his crap, and he could call me on mine, and we'd hold each other on the honor system. When he was wrong, I could call him on it. When I was wrong, he could call me on mine. And one time we were just joking, and we actually started slapping each other in a funny way. And it got a little harder. Then he said, I think we should end here before someone gets hurt. But we just instead of crying, we looked at each other, just started laughing, and he said, let's go have a beer.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, it was a very special relationship, and I miss it.
I imagine. I mean, your father, he passed away, I believe, in 2008, and I'm sorry for your loss. And,
thank you. Appreciate it.
One of the things I loved reading about your book was your dad never felt fulfilled as an actor.
Yeah, you would think somebody as acclaimed as my father was, he would have, and I don't think he got it. Jim, I tell you, I think he made it into the Hall of Fame in 2002. He went in with Tim Conway, Bob Mackie, Gene Stapleton, John Frankenheimer. And I said to him, I always knew you would get into an institution. I just thought it was going to be Bellevue.
And the guys with the white jackets will come and take him away.
Right. Yeah. He said he always made a joke. He said, there's 3 things you never want to do. Don't work with animals, don't work with children, don't work with Conway.
Really?
It could be very dangerous, because you never know what you're going to get on stage. But I'll tell you, you read it in the book, the breakfast with Burt Lancaster, having Laurence Olivier tell you you're a fan of your work, to have Paul Newman say, I'm a big fan of yours, to have all these luminaries tell you that you're a fan. And my dad's like, come on, these are big movie stars. These are gods to my father. Him and Carol never got this. But TV is the most intimate medium of them all. They come into your TV set every Saturday night. They're right between your feet, and you get to know these people. Whereas movies, it's kind of bigger than life, but TV is so much more intimate. And he can never figure out how is it that people like Fred Astaire and all these people, Cary Grant, saying, we're big fans of yours. My dad could never grasp the idea that these people knew who my father was.
Wow.
And it blew his mind.
He also was worried that every role that he played was going to be his last job.
Well, every actor thinks that, because he always thinks that the talent police is going to come and get him any moment.
Wow.
And Marilyn Conn was the same way. She was most insecure. Is this good? Is this playing well? Is this working? Because you're always insecure. You don't know what's working or not. The crew's laughing. The crew's not always the best measurement for what's funny, because they're getting paid to laugh. So you don't necessarily want to go by the crew, who's probably halfway drunk anyway. So my dad and Alan, who bonded very much on Blazing Saddles, and they did the Carbon Miniature together. But my dad said, Alan was very insecure, like my father. They never knew their worth. They never really appreciated their talent until he got on this tour with Tim, and he had people, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds going, we grew up with you. You made a difference in our lives. And my dad just couldn't put any value in that. He always said, well, it's not like a scientist or a doctor who affects people's lives indirectly. Dad, but you don't know the power of laughter. Think about it. The Burnett Show came in. Burnett Show came in '67. We just came out of the Vietnam War, the Watergate. The Burnett Show was a soothing tonic for the world, like Johnny Carson was. It healed the country. The Burnett Show healed the country. I don't think he really understood that.
Now he left after 10 years, even though the show went on for 11. But
yes,
was it because he just thought that that he had run its that his part had run its course?
Yeah. Also, Fred Silverman sent him over a boatload of money and come over to ABC. Now, here's something that maybe most people don't know. When he left the Burnett Show. In that time, he'd done High Anxiety, and Barry Levinson and Rudy DeLuca, who were Burnett Show writers, broke off and went to work with Mel. In that time, my dad in '76, between '76 and '77, he did the Love Boat movie with Tom Bosley, Florence Henderson, and then all these people. In that time, as the Burnett Show was going off the air, Aaron Spelling, Douglas Kramer called my father in and read for the Meryl Stubing role that Gab McLeod eventually took. So my dad was up for the Meryl Stubing role before Gab McLeod got the role.
Right.
Most people don't know that. My dad said, look, I just spent 14 years on TV between Danny Kaye and the Burnett Show. I think I want to shake my Etch-a-Sketch here. Second of all, I have really no great desire to dance with Ethel Merman. In a muumuu.
Mm-hmm.
In a muumuu.
Wow.
Now, he did say I did have a great butt for those shorts, and I had great legs for those shorts, but that's not a reason to do a role. But his best friend, Bernie Coppell, Siegfried on Get Smart, was his dearest friend. Let me tell you, he just didn't want to do 8-hour days on a one-camera shoot. He wanted to spend more time with my sister and I. He wanted to be more a family man. He wanted to do vacations. He just didn't. 14 years of steady work. That's amazing for an actor.
It is, especially in TV.
So,
yeah.
Oh, God, especially in TV. I mean, you think between Larry Hagman, between I Dream of Jeannie and Dallas, he had like 21 years of steady work. I mean, it's like, who has that?
Right. I mean, that's...
13, yeah.
I mean, it just, that doesn't happen. I mean, maybe you'll get 7 years. I mean, I think the only person I can think today that could draw that comparison is, well, if you don't include the voice actors on The Simpsons, I mean, the guy who played Sheldon on Jim Parsons, Sheldon, 12 years on Big Bang Theory, and then he goes over to young Sheldon. And keeps the same character. So I know Kelsey Grammer. I mean, I think he played 20 years the same character. Frasier Crane.
James Arness. James Arness had 20 on Gunsmoke. It's. I mean, Carson had what?
30 years. Yeah.
30 years. That's an amazing run. On any format, that's an amazing run. But my dad tried doing Carson one night. He tried to host it, and he said he went home and told his mother, we either have to leave town or I have to get another career.
It's harder than it looks, isn't it?
Oh, God, he said, you hit that mark, you hit that star in the middle. I mean, he did 17 Tonight shows, but he tried doing one as a host, and he said, I literally, Chris, had to go home that night and quit the show business, or they were going to shoot me. Because it was one of the most scariest things in the world. He said he never did it again. But, I mean, I went on many shoots with him. And Oh God, I was on the set of High Anxiety. I was on the set of History of the World Part 1.
He didn't want you addressing the stars though. He wanted. Remember, you were saying that you met. I think it was Carson one time, and he was like, "Why did you do that? Why did?" He kind of, he really didn't want to take advantage of the situation.
I'm not sure what you're referring to about Carson.
I thought you met Carson backstage one time.
Oh, yeah, it was so strange. Actually, we were walking in from NBC, and my dad and Carson were walking together, and I was with them, and the strangest thing happened. I didn't realize this until many years later that Johnny Carson had given my sister and I this Christmas gift. He gave me this Casio calculator that did everything but cook dinner. It was at least a $500 gift. And on the package it said, "To Chris from Jake Carson." And I couldn't believe it. So when I thanked Carson for it, I think it looked a little bit confused for a second. And until I said, "Oh, that Casio Christmas present you got me a couple of years ago was the most generous thing in the world." He just smiled. He was just very humble. And I realized this. Johnny went to my dad's 50th birthday party. He stayed for 3 hours.
Wow.
Took pictures with all my dad's family. I wasn't there. I was in college, unfortunately. But now when Johnny says, "Here's my really good friend," everybody says that in show business. My dad, Johnny, really meant it because Johnny never went out. Johnny was very shy. So for him to go to dinner to a party of my dad's, to stay for 3 hours and take pictures with our family and stay, was a testament to my dad's affection for Johnny and vice versa. So I always have a great affection for Johnny for that. And my dad is the one that brought Johnny Carson in to meet Jay Leno one night at the Improv, because most people don't know my father is one of the original investors of the Improv brand with Bud Friedman.
Wow.
Yeah, and so one night he came with Johnny. He didn't tell anybody. He didn't tell Bud. Just walked in. You think the Messiah had come from the mountaintop. Dad walked right in with Johnny Carson to the Improv on Pico. You could hear dishes break. No one had expected Johnny Carson to walk in because Johnny used to send his coordinators in to scout comedians. And that night, Andy Kaufman from Taxi bombed.
Oh, wow.
And Leno came on afterwards. So I would go,
You also met Robin Williams, too.
Yeah, Robin, Carol Burnett, Whoopi Goldberg, and Carl Reiner did a special in 1987 at CBS. And my dad directed it. And he said, I was petrified to work with Robin Williams the whole week. It scared the crap out of me because I had already worked with Carol and Carl and Chris, and I was fine. But to work with Whoopi Goldberg and Carl Reiner, and Robin Williams was like, that would just be on him. And he said all week, he was like, "Oh, God, I don't want to hurt Robin Williams. I don't want to say, you can't do this, you can't do that. You just got to let Robin go. Just let him go." But he had to honor the script. So I took my best friend, Scott Marshall, with me, and we're sitting in the audience. It's in the book. And I started saying, "Oh, my God, my dad was scared out of his mind to work with Robin Williams." And his agent turned around and said, "God, you're full of crap." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "It was Robin who was scared shitless of your father." I said, "What?" I said, "Why would Robin be afraid of my father?" I said, "Chris, your father in the annals of comedy is one of the greats." I said, "Well, I kind of know that, but I always considered Robin Williams and John Ritter my comedy heroes." So generationally, I looked up to John Ritter and Robin Williams. But to hear Robin Williams even say, "Robin reveres your father," was like, what?
Amazing. That's incredible. I tell you, Chris, I could go on talking with you all night about this, but I've got a half hour. I've got to stay hard to. So I really thank you though for being on the show tonight, and I hope we can do it again.
Anytime we can talk about comedy, the state of comedy, good and bad, because I could talk about that for hours, God knows.
Fantastic.
But I appreciate you having me on, and thank you for talking about the book. And we both owe Ben Olmart a bottle of Chardonnay or something.
I tell you. And speaking of that, you can find out more about Chris Korman's book, OMG, Oh My God, It's Harvey Korman's Son, at bearmanormedia.com. So until next time, I'm Jim Juneau, and this has been Lights, Camera, Author.